to shed more light on the deteriorating situation and the developments in the Middle East war, the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. We have the pleasure to have with us over the phone our dear guest, Dr. Foa'd Razek, the political analyst. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Well, Dr. Razek, how do you follow the latest developments in the Middle East war, the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran?
As a matter of fact, people, were so happy that, President Trump declared sort of stopping his ultimatum and then calling for negotiations. But this happens in the midst of the war, still, on, and nobody knows, But he achieved some things like, lower price of energy that came up again after this. So there was a sort of optimism, but he was very, very cautious attitude towards this thing. So it means, this will open the door for more efforts to negotiations, and actually Egypt is playing a great role in doing this, and it needs a lot more of efforts to achieve some sort of lasting peace, but the Iranian side as well are adamant to go on this war, and we don't know to what end these negotiations, if it happens, we have to believe what President Trump said.
Yes, you're Dr. Abdelrazek. Today, Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati made a series of phone calls with his United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Turkey, Pakistan, France, and Cyprus counterparts in order to, in addition to the U.S. envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, in order to contain this situation and avoid the de-escalation of the crisis in the Middle East. How did you follow this also?
These actually are very valuable efforts, and Egypt is doing its best to do this, to bring all parties to negotiating a table. So there are so many difficulties to understand, first of all, the American mentality, then the Iranian mentality, and then the Arab mentality. And in that case, it's reassuring folks for the Gulf states in particular that Egypt is deciding by them and protecting them and trying to find a negotiable solution. Because at the end of the day, it is the negotiations and negotiation table is the end of any war, whatever happens. Sometimes it peaks so as to relax later on. That's maybe what the Egyptian side is doing. Of course, besides, assuring the Gulf countries that, they are not alone in this, especially in light of the condemnation of the Iranian attacks against these countries. So it might lead, that people, were optimistic in a way when, being called to these negotiations and stopping this ultimatum, which is only maybe for 5 days. So let's wait and see what efforts, but this doesn't mean that anybody to stop any effort towards that thing, especially as there are, some talks as well with the, especially with Pakistan, for example, who's been said that it will be hosting such negotiations. So I think it might bear some fruit, at least to appease this situation in a way, but it sounds very difficult, and let's wait and see what will happen next and what kind of statements will come out of President Trump if he's happy, especially there are so many conditions on the part of the Americans and other conditions on the part of Iran, and there should be sort of a compromise. So some people doubt the American intention, but we shouldn't negate it all, and let's see what will happen after that.
Yes, actually, Dr. Abdelrazek, Iran's revolutionary guards have warned Israeli military that their troops in the northern border with Lebanon and Gaza Strip will be targeted without no limit. Yet today, Lebanon's foreign ministry said it had approved the accreditation giving the ambassador, Iranian ambassador, until Sunday to leave the country. What's your comment?
Actually, there should be a separation between what's going on regarding Lebanon and what's going on in the world against Iran, because they are not very similar in the as a matter of fact. But the situation is very worse in the Israeli side and on the Lebanese side. So this is condemned as well, the Israeli action in that sense. But because Israel wants to relate both together, but Iran doesn't differentiate between what's happening there and what's happening there, because the amount of destruction on the Lebanese ground is really paramount, and it is not really acceptable to that extent. So it is what the Revolutionary Guard says is quite normal on their part, because this is the attitude they say, and they always protect their arms in the area, as they say. And Lebanon itself is in a very difficult situation, has to reach a compromise between what Israel is doing and what Hezbollah is doing, and its role as a government. It's really in a very illegal sort of situation, that seems.
Yes, Dr. Abdelrazek, U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday, of course, have issued statements and made statements, very important statements concerning the negotiations between U.S. and Iran, even if Iran have dismissed it as false, yet the political analysts have said that it is a kind of a step or initiative from U.S. President Donald Trump for opening negotiations with Iran and U.S. And even Egypt, in its foreign ministry statement, said that it welcomed the initiative by U.S. President Donald Trump for the negotiating table. How did you follow this?
This is very important step on the part of the American president. The problem is that people still doubt the intentions of the American president, though he called for this, but people are puzzled as well, because the Americans, for example, mentioned Pakistan as a venue, mentioned the names of the negotiators in the part of Iran, Caliban, and mentioned 5 days of talks, and these are very promising. And people say that those who doubt the Americans, they say it does it only for the prices of oil to come down and the price of fuel. And this happened actually right after the statement. Markets show some developments, very positive, but now began to retreat again because of these such doubts of the American president's intention. But we shouldn't exclude it, and Egypt is right so to support such an effort, because it rides in the same direction. It's conducive to a sort of a settlement for this war, which will end with no winner, actually, at the end of the day. And this is the wisdom of the Egyptian situation in that sense. So this is why I said at the beginning, let's wait and see the results over these 5 days, in spite of the Iranian rejection of this, but this could be as well sort of maneuvering and to gain more ground and more power when it comes to negotiation tables.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information. Dr. Foa'd Abdelrazek, political analyst. We really had the pleasure to have this panel with you.